Hi, this is MOON spells dumb. I guess I'm making a reply video to Rock3T138. Last week he posted a request video to the NRA. He was requesting the NRA to look into helping truck drivers legally transport their firearms across the country in the cab of their truck with them. If you look through the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Regulations pocketbook or Google any federal or state law, there's nothing restricting truck drivers from having weapons in the cab of their truck with them. That was a rumor started by trucking companies. They basically don't want you to resist hijackings, and they don't want to get sued if you get injured a hijacker, or injure an innocent bystander. One of the things you need to look at before taking a gun on the road with you is if your company has a policy against weapons in the truck. One of your responsibilities if you do take a gun on the road with you is respect property rights. There's some warehouses, truck stops, and RV parks that restrict gun access on their property. You need to respect that. If you get caught with a gun on their property, you get charged with trespassing or some other laws. The law that helps you transport your firearm across the country is a federal law. It's the 1986 Firearm Owners Protection Act. It's a safe passage provision in there that allows you to legally transport your firearm, a handgun, shotgun, or rifle across the country. It's a point A to point B law. It can be used to help you even if you're zigzagging across the country. If you're allowed to own a weapon and you're legally allowed to possess that weapon in the state you're driving from, and you're legally allowed to possess that weapon that you're traveling to, then you're legally allowed to pass through restrictive areas like Illinois, Massachusetts, New York, New Jersey, Connecticut. You are only allowed to stop off for in the restrictive places to refuel and get something to eat. You're not allowed to stay overnight or load or unload your truck. If you stop to load or unload your truck, you can be considered intrastate transportation, and that's would fall underneath the state and local laws of possession and transportation. Ron Paul, 2012. Every state has different laws on possession and transportation of a firearm. It's up to you to look up the laws to that state that you'll be visiting or working in. Some states consider a gun locked up in a lockbox unloaded in a vehicle as considered concealed carry. If you do not have a CCW for that state, you could be breaking the law. Some states require a permit just to transport a weapon inside that state, or if you go to that state to work, you'd need a permit to transport inside the state, or you'd be breaking the law. Other states want you to open carry. Your gun would have to be unloaded in plain view, preferably in the passenger seat as you're driving down the road. But you can find a lot of videos on YouTube where police think open carry is considered brandishing a firearm. I suggest if you go into a state just to load or unload, and as soon as you're finished loading or unloading, you're going to be leaving that state, that you just leave your gun locked up and you do not try to open carry. How to properly transport your firearm under the safe passage provision of the 1986 Firearm Owners Protection Act. Well, it requires you to have your guns unloaded and locked in your trunk. If you don't have a trunk because you're in an SUV, RV, or semi, you need to put it in a lockbox. Lock boxes are cheap. You can get them for under $100 pretty easy. Your ammo cannot be loaded in your guns, and your ammo cannot be in your lockbox with your gun. Your lockbox cannot be your cubby up front or a glove box. It has to be an actual lockbox, and it has to be out of reach of the driver and passenger. Your ammo doesn't have to be locked up, but I lock mine up just in case I get stopped by a scale and they want to search my truck. I don't have any loose ammo laying around, and they start asking if I have a weapon or if I'm legally allowed to possess that weapon. Out of sight, out of mind kind of thing. Some states have their own transportation safe passage laws on their books that require that your gun be disassembled or have a trigger lock on it in a lockbox while you're driving through their state. I do that just so there's no argument if I'm legal or not. I heard Alabama is starting to require people that are carrying concealed or transporting a weapon through their state to have proof of purchase on them in case they're stopped by a police officer to prove that that weapon is actually theirs. Right now I have a concealed carry or a couple concealed carry permits, and I can carry concealed in 35 states, so I really don't need to know the proper carrying procedure in 35 of those states. Out of 15 states that I cannot carry concealed, I can legally possess my weapon in 7 of those. So I just need to follow those 7 policies on possession or transportation of a firearm when I'm in their states. Some of the state restrictive laws that you can commonly find when you're Googling this topic is how many rounds you can have in your gun. Well, if you get your CCW, usually you're only allowed up to 10 to 15 rounds. So I'd just go with the 1911 or a revolver. That way there's no argument if you're breaking the law or not. California, Massachusetts, New York, DC, and Chicago and the surrounding counties only allow up to 10 rounds. New Jersey is up to 15 rounds. License to possess a firearm. There's 4 states that you need a license just to possess a firearm in their state. That's Connecticut, Illinois, Massachusetts, and New York. And then there's states you don't need a license to possess, but if you're going to be transporting that firearm, you need a license just to transport it inside their state. So if you go inside their state to stay overnight or to work, you need to get a permit just to transport your gun around in the cab of your truck. And that's Connecticut, Illinois, Indiana, Michigan, Massachusetts, Maryland, New Jersey, New York, Pennsylvania, and Rhode Island. There's 5 states with exceptions: Illinois, Massachusetts, New Jersey, Rhode Island, and Maryland. And those exceptions are for if you're going into their state to hunt, or if you're a resident and you're going to a gun range, or if you're coming out of state and you have a concealed carry permit in your own state and you're bringing your gun into a gun shop to get repaired. There's 3 states that you can get a permit to carry: Indiana and Michigan. Those 2, unless you're a resident of the state, you cannot get a permit to transport inside their state. But if you get a concealed carry permit that has reciprocity with Indiana and Michigan, then you can legally transport your firearm within the state, so you can work inside the state without breaking any of their transportation laws. Same thing with Pennsylvania, except if you don't want to get your concealed carry permit, you can go to a sheriff's office in Pennsylvania and get a permit to transport your firearm within the state, so you can work in the state without breaking their transportation laws. So if you get your concealed carries like I do, and you get covered in 35 states, there's 7 states that you still can't transport in. That's you can't stop at all: Connecticut, Illinois, Massachusetts, Maryland, New Jersey, New York, and Rhode Island. The only reason you can go into those states is if you're transporting straight through. You cannot stop except put fuel in or get something to eat. There's also some problem states. There's 9 states that their counties and cities can make their own gun laws more restrictive than the state. It's in California, Connecticut, Illinois, Massachusetts, New Jersey, New York, Florida, Nebraska, and Pennsylvania. Really, there's only 4 of those you need to worry about: California, Florida, Nebraska, and Pennsylvania. California, I'm sure it's San Francisco and LA. Florida, I'm not sure. Nebraska, I'm not sure. Pennsylvania, I'm sure it's Philadelphia and Pittsburgh. If you have to go on any military property, federal property, or into a state that you're not allowed to possess your firearm, just find a town before you go into the state that you're not allowed to. Go to a gun shop and drop off your gun there. Ask them to clean it. It doesn't cost a lot of money, and they'll usually hold on to it for a few days. If you catch anybody stealing your fuel, I strongly suggest you don't pull your gun on them. Just call the police. Every state's different. You don't know what states have a citizen's arrest in. And if you try to pull a citizen's arrest on the wrong person in the wrong state, you can get charged with brandishing a weapon and holding some unlawful detainment or some shit like that. Remember your 4th Amendment right against search and seizure. If you don't want somebody searching your truck, have them get a warrant if they really want to search your truck. And remember your 5th Amendment right. If you don't know if you're not breaking the law or not, just say you'd like to invoke your 5th Amendment right not to incriminate yourself. Yeah, I guess that's about it. It's your responsibility to find out what states you can legally transport your weapon in. Just remember, get a lockbox. Keep your guns unloaded in the lockbox and your ammo separate, and try to get your concealed carry permits in Ron Paul 2012.